The warrior of light struck Hydaelyn's core at Ultima Thule. This ended her reign, not the world's. This indeed her reign trembles in the void, words not a whisper. Asterisk, did you choose, or was I forced? Asterisk, Venat's experiment splintered Eorzea to measure its will. The warrior's blade hovers strike and the test concludes. But what if the trial demanded not victory but surrender? The cost is etched in the silence between stars. What if the world's end was never the prize but the question? Venat did not merely break the sky, she fractured the soul of a god. The Mothercrystal's shriek of splintering light left 14 bleeding stars in its wake, each a shard of Etheirys' severed will. The silence that followed was not peace, but a held breath. Eorzea's wars, its fractured alliances, the Ascians' 100th are not failures. They are footnotes in an experiment without end. Did she doubt her children's capacity to mourn, to rage, to rebuild without divine hands? Or did she know the source's absence would birth monsters even as it birthed hope? The cost is not in the breaking, but the waiting. Every storm that splits the horizon, every blade raised in Amarot's shadow, echoes a question unanswered, if this world passes its test or if it is the test. And when the final shard darkens, will the answer be judgment? The convocation of 14 wove Etheirys from starlight and silence. Their creation magic spun rivers, mountains, and the first breaths of mortal hearts. Amarot's spires, Ishgard's citadels, Elpis Archivezol were threads in a tapestry of balance, but balance is fragile. The final days came not as war but as rupture. Venat the Mothercrystal shattered the source to ask a single question: could this world endure without divine crutches? 1,000 years of storm followed, Garlemald's forges dimmed, Thavnair's tides turned crimson. The first sacred groves withered, mortals clawed at the dark, forging kingdoms in the convocation's absence. Yet their triumphs were built on a lie. The test was never about survival. It was about choice. Could they have chosen unity over conquest? Could they have woven their own harmony? Venat's experiment demanded sacrifice. The Mothercrystal bled light to birth shadows. Her fracture was not failure but methodology. The answer remains buried in the shards buried in us. Did we prove worthy or merely reveal our nature? And when the final shard darkens, will the answer be judgment? The world still bears the scars of that question. Every war, every prayer, every hand raised to the sky. A test written in fire, a test we may yet fail. The convocation demanded balance. Venat offered chaos. With a single spell, she sundered the pact that bound Etheirys, her voice a blade through the ritual's throat. Hydaelyn's light did not heal, it burned. Zodiark's shadow did not consummate fractured. The sky split. 14 shards of the source fell like judgment, each a dying star, each a seed of war. The final days began not with a whisper but a scream, the world's veins bleeding crystal and ash. What did she see in that collapse? A mirror. Venat's defiance was no act of faith, it was a scalpel. She carved open the source's heart to ask, asterisk, can this broken thing still breathe? Asterisk, Eorzea's wars, its prayers, its hands clawing at the dark thieves were not failures, they were answers. A species that fights to survive, even as it destroys itself, is a species worth mending, but the cost was written in every scar. The convocation's seat, the dragoon's mantle, the exarch's crown thieves were not rewards, they were weights. Venat did not ascend to power, she ascended to atonement. Each title a chain, each victory a debt. The Mothercrystal did not crown her, it haunted her. A god's experiment demands a god's patience, and still the test continues, the shards remain. The final days linger. Eorzea's pulse is fragile, its people blind to the strings of their trial. Did Venat save a world, or merely prove it could be saved? The Archon's shadow stretches long, but the true question festers. When the last shard dissolves, will the source rise, or will its children? The Emperor's choice was not an end. It was a beginning written in fire. Venat's blade does not fall, the second sacrifice remains unclaimed. Instead, she carves a new path through the source's heart. Hydaelyn awakens not as a savior, but a variable. Etheirys shatters into 14 fractures, each a mirror, each a question. The world breathes without the source's hand. The experiment begins. Emetzelch steps forward, offers his own flesh to the void. A volunteer for the unknown, Horsheffant retreats, letting the tide of time reclaim his throne. Xenos in the storm's eye whispers a name to the chaos, asterisk warrior asterisk, a title, a hypothesis. A thread to weave through the unraveling. Venat's test is not mercy, it is a scalpel. Eorzea's fate is no longer a binary of salvation or ruin. The shards are both wound and salve, a labyrinth with no map. The people must now navigate hunger, war, and the slow erosion of light. The cost of autonomy is measured in blood and silence. Did she gamble with gods, or did she finally let the world stand on its own knees? The 14 fragments hum with potential. Some fuel empires, some birth cults, some drown in the sea. The warrior's name is forgotten, then remembered, then weaponized. The experiment's variables multiply. No triumph here, no simple victory. Venat's choice is a wound that refuses to heal. She trades the source's certainty for 1,000 uncertain tomorrows. The question is not can Eorzea survive? It is will it, and if it does, what kind of world will it become? The Mothercrystal watches, not as a god, as a scientist. The test is ongoing. The results sealed in fire and ash, and somewhere in the cracks between shards a whisper, what if they fail, But to grasp what follows, you must grasp what she gave up. Venat requested her own defeat, not an end, but a severance. Her light, her essence, the very threads binding Eorzea to the source. A world unshackled, yet crumbles. Whispers in the shards now ask, what if the cost of survival is the thing that made it worth surviving? The test continues. The fire still seals her name. The sundering did not merely fracture Zodiark's prison, it shattered the world's pulse. Etheirys, once whole, became the source in 13 broken mirrors. Venat's test was not a prayer, it was a reckoning. How would Eorzea breathe without its lifeblood? The ancients answered with their bones, the Scions with sleepless nights, and the world, it bled. The Ascians, those hollow pilgrims, now walk a path paved with the echoes of what was lost. Their quest to reunite the shards is no act of salvation, it is a dirge. Every shard they chase is a ghost of a god, every step a requiem for the dead. Hydaelyn's name is etched in the scars of the earth, but what of Venat? His sacrifice was a question, sharp as a blade. Could this broken thing be mended? Venat split the source, 14 shards, 14 trials, each a prism refracting Eorzea's will to survive. The world gasped through fractures, light bled from the wounds. A test, could life root in the cracks? The shards fell, some became mountains, others storms, one sank into the sea, a leviathan's heart. Another blazed in the sky, a star with a face, each demanded tribute, some nations knelt, others clawed the shards seeking answers in their cold light. Wars were kindled. Alliances forged in desperation. The experiment unfolded, but the world faltered, the shards hungered. The hunger was Venat's whisper, prove you need not me. Eorzea's children answered with war, with greed. With prayers that deafened the silence between heartbeats. The final days came, the sky wept fire. The earth split its own throat, and still the test endured. The shards did not weep. They judged, the scars they left, cities buried under crystal, oceans choked with static were not failures, they were signatures, proof that survival required more than life, it required choice. Venat became the Mothercrystal. Not a tomb, a threshold, her essence, a labyrinth where time loops and hope dissolves. She is the question made flesh. What becomes of a god who doubts her creation? The answer lies in the static between every breath, in the way light bends when no one is looking. The scars of the final days are her script. They say, the world was broken, it was mended, it was broken again, and still the test continues. For in every shard, in every heartbeat, Venat waits, not to judge, to learn, to see if Eorzea can love what it does not understand. The Scions' blades still scar the Aether where Hydaelyn's light once blazed. The warrior of light's triumph at Ultima Thule did not end the test, it merely turned the page. Now the world breathes in fractured rhythms, its veins of crystal pulsing with borrowed time. Venat's shard lies dormant beneath the Zelida, its surface etched with glyphs that hum when no one listens. The Aether there tastes of rust and static, a wound sealed but not healed. In the ruby sea, tides of primal energy ebb as if holding their breath. The Ascians' machinations have stilled, not from defeat but from waiting. They know the true adversary is not Zodiark or Hydaelyn, but the silence between heartbeats. The Scions march onward, their resolve a fragile thread stretched taut between hope and the weight of Venat's question. Can Eorzea love what it does not understand? The Mothercrystal's voice lingers in the wind's whisper, in the warble of a young drake's cry. It is not guidance, it is observation. The shard's core still burns with the paradox of her choice savior and executioner, her light both the scalpel and the wound. The test was never about survival. It was about *proof*. Could a world forged in chaos choose to cherish its own scars? The answer, unspoken, festers in every cracked road and aching star. The warrior's blade hangs in their scabbard now, not as a weapon but as a question mark. And deep in the ethereal sea, where time unravels like frayed thread, Venat's shard waits, not to judge, to learn, to see if Eorzea can love what it does not understand. Venat's shard did not fracture the world, it mirrored it. 1,000 echoes of Eorzea, each a thread in the loom of possibility. He let the Mothercrystal bleed not to destroy, but to witness good life cling to the husk of death. Emet answered with a blade. His betrayal was a confession, where Venat asked, *Can you endure? *The Ascian demanded, *Will you obey? One sowed storms to test roots, the other grafted poison into the soil. Both sought the same truth. Does Eorzea's will outlast the final days? The answer bled from every shattered city, every name whispered in ash. Love is not a force. It is a wound, a scar that defies the erasure of time. Venat's test failed. Emet succeeded by making mortals bleed the same red. The cycle is not a prison. It is a question asked in the language of fire. How many worlds must burn before the answer is not more *? Yet here in the silence after the storm, the shard still watches, not for salvation, for recognition. A world that sacrifices itself to save another is no different from a world that sacrifices others to save itself. Both are bound by the same chain, the weight of a love that cannot let go. The final days are not an end. They are the echo of a heartbeat faint but unbroken, waiting. The heartbeat falters, a fracture blooms in the ether. Venat's shadow did not fall at *leapt*. A test written in fire. Could bonds forged in light hold when the source was gone? The Mothercrystal watched as empires crumbled, souls collided, and hope became a weapon. Her voice, a tide retreating, *I have seen the world you have made. Now let me see if you can make it without me. Eorzea bled, Eorzea rose, a paradox woven in starlight and ash. The experiment's cost, a god's breath, a planet's scars. The sea still hums with her question, and the answer is being written in every step toward dawn. What if the cracks in the Mothercrystal hold more than memories? Venat's fracture was no failure, it was a gauge. The Ascians' first rejoining, a splinter in time's design. Did Eorzea's scars prove its worth or its weakness? The Scions' next trial burns hotter, a blade forged in shadow, a name whispered in every shattered shard. What will they say?